Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Inspire View series, and I'm Cherrise Boucher, Transformational Life Mentor, and you can find me at www.cheriseboucher.com. And I am super excited to bring this new interview, which kind of came up at the last minute, because this lady has some passion. She has some passion. So I felt inspired to put this series together because I feel it is so massively important for every single person out there to incorporate something they're passionate about into their lives, because I feel that when you weave something you're passionate about in there, your soul thanks you for listening, and you see the benefits of that in all kinds of areas of your life, from overall well-being to reduced stress and better communication. And so the inspiring people that I'm bringing to you during this series are people just like you. They've overcome obstacles, experienced life in all its aspects, and they've incorporated their passions into their lives. So they're going to share some thoughts and tips that they've found most useful to them throughout their lives that have helped them get them where they are now. And you might be inspired to reach out to them too, because they've got some really good stories, great free gifts, and they're very motivational. So I'm very glad that you're here to join me on this journey to nurture the spark that feeds the fire of your passion. And today I am thrilled to introduce you to this inspiring, one-of-a-kind lady. She is a world-renowned psychic, author, and spiritual teacher. She was born and raised in the free-thinking atmosphere of New York's Greenwich Village in the 60s and has been aware of her psychic abilities since the age of 8. So this is nothing new to her. After a near-the-death experience about 25 years ago, she began having a series of encounters with angels that revealed the profound fables that were to become the basis for her #1 best-selling Chakra Wisdom Oracle cards and toolkit. There's some fun facts that I just found out that are very inspirational. She is the only American psychic ever interviewed by the New York Times and the Los Angeles Business Journal. She has helped celebrities such as Jeff Lewis in launching his hit TV show Flipping Out on Bravo Networks USA. She has also been nominated as this year's Personality of the Year by Kindred Spirit magazine and has been invited to make an appearance at Barnes & Noble at the Grove in Los Angeles, which is a location mainly reserved for celebrity authors. I'd like to live close to that. That'd be fun. Also, let's see, I just skipped too far down. Her latest offering is Life Purpose Divination, a system designed to shut down your brain to allow you to learn to live with complete trust in your intuition. And I love doing this stuff. So I'm so thrilled that Tori agreed to talk with us here. This is Tori Hartman is my guest today. Hi, Tori.
Hi, and I just want to let everybody know this is what I live with right there. That's Owen. And there's Frank. Those are my 2 whippets. So they kind of they have to be in every interview, and they're usually off screen. But if a tail kind of pops into the into the view, you'll know what's going on.
Well, there's a tail that whips across your face or something. We'll know where that's coming from.
We'll know what's going on. You know, they ground me. So there you go.
Everybody needs some of that.
But I've known you for a while too, Cherrise. I think I've known you for quite a while, and you know, it's kind of nice to watch your evolution as well.
Thank you.
The people I get to work with, and who trust me with their path, you know, for however long that time frame is. You know,
yeah.
I think, you know. I never wanted to be a teacher. I've got to be honest with you. That was the last thing on my mind. I mean, because I really felt that you know, what more do I have than you have? I mean, I think that in some ways, I mean, you have the knowledge. You have all the information for your life to make it work and to step into your own wisdom. So, you know, it's interesting the way you just described, too, I want to say this, the way you just described life purpose divination, I went, oh yeah, that's what it is. You know, it's so interesting when people describe something you're working on and you go, oh yeah, that's what it is. Like, oh yeah, because sometimes when we're in it, we're in the trust of it. And, I'll just start by saying to everybody that I work almost exclusively with my intuition. I work with it all the time, and I completely trust it. And that's what I'm good at teaching others to do. Because one of the things that I did in Life Purpose Divination, which is interesting, we're talking about that course right now, because what I did in that is I really started out, it's like the guy who created Post-it notes. He really created Post-it notes so they'd be a permanent bond, right? Well, he thought it was a failure because they didn't stick, right? So I started out with Life Purpose Divination as I was going to create a system to I was going to create a system to card reading that I thought, okay, this is going to work with the cards. And then as I started to work with it, I realized it's almost like a prequel. And what happens is sometimes I'll say to people, and when I'm working with clients, I'll say to them, where were you right before this moment? So think about this for a minute. If you're at some kind of roadblock in your life or a stop in your life or you're having some kind of challenge, where were you just before the challenge occurred? That moment just before tells you a lot about where you're going. And so what I want to say is that, when we talk about Life Purpose Divination, we talk about what that is. I was trying to create something else, and it created this. And then I went with it. And I think that's the thing, is that what happened was, the prequel was that I realized that this course teaches everybody, and the word divination in itself teaches you everything you need to know about how your intuition works and how to really trust it. And it's been interesting because the people who walked away from the class not only really understood their life purpose. In the last time I taught very small, but they also walked away with the complete trust of their intuition and how to differentiate between your brain and your intuition, which I'm going to talk about in we're just talking about this now in the webinar I'm about to do tomorrow. And who knows when this will replay, so but the information that I have out there is still out there, like the free ebook and all of that stuff that goes around. And part of it, too, is that, I realized that a lot of the structures you put in place when you're introducing something new is you have to give people small doses of what the different concepts are, or your brain will shut it down. So just to give you an example, and I think this will help everybody to kind of say, people say, well, why does my brain do that? Why does my brain shut my intuition down? And the reason is, and I'm going to give you all, this is if you get nothing else, you could turn off after this part of the interview.
But don't, because there's going to be good stuff anyway.
The reason is because your brain is completely designed for survival and protection. And your intuition is designed for adventure. So it's like two different things. But what begins to happen is that as we get older, our brain is more and more and more designed to shut down our intuition. So what I did when I created Life Purpose Divination inadvertently was I started giving people right from the beginning the idea that, oh, my intuition's always working, and how to spot it. And to really learn the difference between your brain and your intuition, and then knowing how to live in your intuition. Because your brain's the total purpose of it is to think through a situation. And your intuition is always sending you Morse code. It's always disguised. And the brain doesn't like anything it doesn't know. So it goes, I don't understand that, doesn't work. So one of the big things I say in the course, and of course this is a little, I'm getting to talk about it, which is great. One of the things I say a lot is, are you sure it's not working? And people go, well, yeah, it's not working. I'm not feeling anything. And I'll say, how do you know? Well, I'm not experiencing it. But how do you know? See, we don't know if something's not working because we're not trained to spot it. We're not trained to know it. So in other words, your intuition is always working. It's always working. But most of the time we'll say, well, that's, I love this one. It's not meant to be. No, it's just technology. The freaking computer's not working. What do you mean it's not meant to be? It's just such a way of us containing our upset, instead of just saying, I'm upset, it's not working. Okay.
Right. Yeah, you hear people say that a lot. Oh, it's just not meant to be.
And I think what happens is that's a way of us containing our anger and sounding mature. I'm like, I'm in upset. I was on a call with somebody, and she was just very, very, well, everything's great and wonderful. And I said, you sound really angry. And she's like, what? And she has this voice like this, And I said, you sound like you're in a rage. And all of a sudden she went, I really am. And I'm like, oh my God, now we can have the real talk,
Exactly.
Because intimacy is into me see. It's not something I'm going to get from you. It's not something that happens when our clothes fall off. We're going to be intimate whether our clothes are on or not off, because intimacy is you see who I am. Mm-hmm. You may not like me. You may not like my work, but that's still intimacy. Because when you see me, then you're able to make an assessment as to what works for you or not.
That's brilliant. So, yeah.
Until you really see me, and that's the risk we all have to take. It's really funny, Cherrise, you'll appreciate this, and then I'll let you get to your questions. I'm sure you have something good. But for people who don't know me, I live in this beautiful home. I've lived here now for 10 years. I live in a beautiful home in Los Angeles. It's a $1.5 million home in Los Angeles. Unbelievable. I mean, the stuff I've created, it's fantastic. And I said, yeah, I'm going to just sell my house and move to North Carolina. I'm going to move to Asheville. And everybody's saying, why? It's time to reinvent me, and it's time to bless somebody else with this house, let them have it, and I'll go live another adventure. And people said, why? And I said, because. Remember when we were kids? And I want everybody listening to us right now, remember when you were a kid and your mom would say, why are you doing that? And you go, because.
Yeah.
Well, why? Because. And because meant something to you then. Because just meant because you wanted to. No reason. It wasn't smart. It wasn't stupid. It was just because. And it's really interesting. What kind of teacher would I be if I didn't say to people, I have to live the adventure? I have to live the adventure. If I am saying to you, trust your intuition and step into the adventure, what did I know when I, got on a plane 3 years ago and said, I'm going to London, I'm going to sell my Chakra Wisdom card deck to a British publisher, and everybody said, they don't buy decks. I said, they'll buy mine. Find a team, Well, was I crazy? I spent my savings to self-publish 10 years ago or 8 years ago. It's crazy. But you know what? That's my adventure. And my biggest value is adventure and risk. And everything worth doing is worth risking and doing badly and falling flat on your face. Because you know what? For me, when I do get to North Carolina, somebody said, what are you going to do there? I said, I don't know. They're like, what do you mean you don't know? What do you mean you don't know? It's like horrifying to my friends, like, what do you mean you don't know? I said, live a new adventure, make some new friends, go whitewater rafting, think about myself as I watch the snow. You know what somebody said? And do you know what everybody says to me? This is the best part. It's cold there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, they have winter.
Yeah, it's beautiful though. It's beautiful there.
Gorgeous. And you know what? And somebody said, what if you don't like it? This is the great. And by the way, if you're listening to Cherrise and I right now, I just want to say this to people listening to us too. Take that on your own. Like, what if somebody said that to you? What if you don't like it? Well, guess what? I'll change it.
That's right.
Right? If I don't like it, I'll move. But see, I'm never coming back. I've done this. This chapter of my life this book is written. When I write a book, I put my heart into it. I put everything I have into that moment. And you get, when you purchase something, that I've done everything I had in that moment. And I may change in another, I just added a whole new section to Life Purpose Divination that wasn't there before. Because I'm evolving with the work. And since I took Life Purpose Divination, and by the way, I take it with you. When people do my course, I'm going through it too, and I'm processing. I'm in the trenches with you, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is when I get through it, I'm moving. That's what that course did for me. It put me back on what is my purpose. It's to be a writer and an author, teacher, all the things I didn't think I was, but it meant letting go of a life that doesn't fit me.
Interesting.
So it's really interesting. One of the women who did the course, and I'm going to say this, and then I'll let you we'll have an interview then. But one of the things that happened was this woman wrote this beautiful note to me. She said, when I took Life Purpose Divination, I thought it was because I wanted to write my book. And I thought that was my purpose. And then I realized my purpose was not that. My purpose was to be who I was, which is a great mom, a great wife, have a beautiful home. And from that, my book will come. And I thought, I'm getting truth bumps as I speak that to you. It's like, that doesn't mean you're not going to write your book. It means you're going to own your life, and then it's going to come from who you are. See, that's the difference. Sorry, I didn't, these, by the way, everybody, computers, you're always like, go away. So, I mean, that's the thing is that that's the beauty of this. It's like, it's about stripping away everything that isn't you, so you can express the real you.
That's intriguing, too. It's intriguing to think about that. Because what you think you know, you may not know.
Well, we never do. We never do it, but when we start living intuitively, what begins to happen is everything that's not authentically us will go away. But here's the difference, Cherrise, is that we have the tools then to understand that. See, somebody wrote to me, because I do the course over 7 weeks, and it was like in week 3, I think, and I said everybody breaks down in week 2 and 3. Everybody. Everybody has a breakdown. Everybody's writing in, oh my gosh, I'm having a breakdown. You're so right. And I said, that's normal. Keep going. Normal. Keep going. Because the thing is that we just need guidance on our path. And then once we get all the techniques we need, then we're fine. My goal is for people not to need me at all, but for me to give them the techniques and then watch them go fly the kite. And go, wow, that's cool, And then I get to learn from you. Because your wisdom is amazing, I think that I had nothing to rely on but my intuition, and so I always trusted it. Because my mother took away one of my senses when I was growing up. I wasn't allowed to write. That was her job, so she would dictate all my papers growing up. And what I say in Life Purpose Divination and in the course, I talk about your wounding becomes your greatest gift. And people are like, what? I don't get that. And what I explained was, and I didn't even realize this until just before I started teaching the course, was that my mother dictated all my papers, and I thought that was perfectly normal. I didn't know. She told me I had no command of the language, and so I had to rely upon my intuition. And when she died when I was 15, I failed English in high school. And then it wasn't until years later, Cherrise, just before I was working on this new course, I've sat up in bed and I realized I was uniquely qualified to take dictation from the angels when they came forward to tell me the stories. I had been trained to take dictation.
Right.
So the wounding was my gift. And it brought me my gift. And so what this is designed to do is to help you see your gifts and step into and live them. And that's really, when I see people do that, I just go, you're fine. You're fine. You didn't know any better. You didn't know that you didn't realize. So what? I think it's just about validating, right? It's like how invalidated we've been trained to do to others and to do with ourselves,
Right.
Like, I don't do it perfectly, so.
So what kind of person do you think that this Life Purpose Divination course is for? Is it for some particular group, or is it for just anybody who?
I'll be honest with you. It's so, yeah. I get where you're going. Okay. So many people say that to me, and all people will say, well, who's your target market? And I'm like, if I had to say, it's the person whose intuition calls them to it. You know, I don't know about you, but like years ago, I was sitting with a couple friends. Another friend of mine said, "Oh, I just did this weekend." I go, "I want to do it." Everybody said, "He hasn't even told you what it is yet." I said, "I can look at him and tell him I want to do it." You know, I want that person, because that person who says, "Yes, this, I know there's something here. I don't know what it is, but I know there's something here." That's the person who's right for it. And honestly, at the end of the day, I was shocked at the demographic. I mean, I had a college student and, you know, grandmas, you know, great grandma, and everything in between. And so I was really like hard pressed to say, oh, is it a card reader? You know, honestly, I wrote it for card readers because I redefined all of the divinations in chakra wisdom for life purpose. So 49 cards with new divinations. So there are exercises, and I call it in the fun book, where you use your intuition and then find the answer and realize that you were right on. It's like this incredible validating journey of your intuition. And if I had to say, that's really what was really amazing, is how many people were like, I've never done anything like this. It blew my mind. From a 20-year-old who's in college to, you know, so it was a very hard thing, because I would say, you know, if you asked me, I'd have said to you, oh, it's mostly women. But the men were equally as active, which shocked me.
Huh.
The men were real. I mean, there are about 4 or 5 men in the group, and I create there's a private Facebook group for it, and we were all interacting. I was interacting, everybody was commenting, and these are like lifetime connections now, some of them. So it's really been, if it calls to you, it's right for you, and if it doesn't, if it's like, no, I don't. Then it's not going to be for you, because you have to be ready for this level of work. You really do. You know that. I mean, you know, you can say, oh yeah, I want to learn to read cards, but if you open a book and you spend your life reading the book, your cards have to come from who you are. They have to come from complete trust of your intuition. And once you trust your intuition, the cards will just start talking to you like la 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 la, and you're like, whoa, that's a story, you know? So it's really interesting, and that's what this course was designed to do, is I was trying to teach people to read cards, and then ultimately I took that component out because I didn't want people to think it was a card reading course. And then it ends up being the prequel. I tell you this, anybody who wants to learn to read cards, if you take this course, you're going to be amazed at how intuitive, your intuition will just explode. You just learn how to tap into it. You learn the difference between a buzzword and the reality of it. You realize that you've been on autopilot, and you go to the same results over and over and over again. And I don't care what airport you take off from, you're landing at the same one. You land at the same one. You know, and that's the thing that happens, is all of a sudden you're landing at a different airport, and you go, what happened to me? It's because the inner reality reflects the outer reality, and you really have done so much inner work. It's like yoga or kundalini. It's internal, and when you do that internal shift, it must have an outward change.
Yeah.
It will.
Right.
So, and chakra, I mean, I was laughing because somebody had said about chakra, they were like, well, I don't like her definition of chakra. It was some review, you know. And I just thought, well, change it then. Use your definition. It's totally fine. There's nothing. You're right.
Right.
You're
no
right.
right or wrong.
Yeah. Because it doesn't matter. See, I think what happens is our brain says that's not right so that we can feel safe within. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, that's not right. And you know why our brain does that? Because we don't want to make the changes. We don't want to change our life. Everything needs to stay safe. And I think that this is really for people who really want the adventure.
Yeah.
Who don't want to die with their music in them, as Wayne Dyer says. You know,
that's right. I love that quote.
Oh, it's my favorite.
Yeah, I love it. So how would somebody like turn off those voices in their head and listen to their intuition? Because that's a challenging thing to do.
Well, the first thing is that you don't ever turn them off. You never do. You never do. We always have inner chatter. It's always going to happen. The difference is that when you start working through the techniques of it, and it's cumulative, Cherrise, it really, you have to start recognizing where it is in each moment. But let me give you an example. I'm just thinking of like, I think, I'm trying to think if there's a good way to put it. You start to recognize all of the components that go into the why you're doing it. When you start to realize and validate your brain's reality, then you can start to listen to your intuition. See, because your brain is going all the time, but so's your intuition. And your intuition is hiding. It's hiding in cryptic messages. And you know where your intuition is living? It's living in, I don't understand that, so it doesn't make sense.
Right.
So what I teach people is how to, when they get to that I don't understand that frustration point, I teach them how to dive under the wave and get it.
And that's key too.
Does
it take about how long does it take somebody to get it?
I would say it takes them it's like 3 to 5 seconds.
Oh, that's it.
See, the thing, but I want to say this because that's important. It's like I can tell it to you, but when I take you through the process of it, it depends on how much you want to fight it.
Right.
You know, it's how much do we want to resist it? How much are we going, this isn't going to work? How much is it like we have a lot to hold on to? And as we start to, and that's why it's systematic. It works with each chakra because it's cumulative. You know, it starts with the red, how you're sourcing your life. Then your second chakra of your emotional life. Are you being emotionally mature? Or are you making decisions based on explosions? So those are the things that start to become cumulative, and each one of those chakra has its own intuition blocker, so to speak.
Right.
So what happens is, as I start to teach it, it starts to then, you know, people who gave comments were saying the biggest thing is each week they go, oh, now I get why I couldn't get that information last week. Oh, now I get why I couldn't get it the week before. Because you see, I can tell you what the secret is. I can tell you the secret right now. The difference is the process and the journey is what changes you, not the aha moment. It's what you did to get there.
Wow.
And you're the one who gets there. That's why, you know, somebody said, well, now can you outline the whole course for me? And I said, yeah, but not really, because what begins to happen is your course is different from mine. We're reading the same stuff, but we're giving different answers. We're giving different points of view. And what happened in the Facebook group, which was great, was people would say, this is what I said for this, and other people were supporting it. And it started to shift because it's a mindset. It's you go, oh yeah, oh I see why I did that now. Like the gal who her thinking was her purpose in life was to write a book. But when she realized her purpose was to be a mom and a good one, then she could write a book from being who she was.
Yeah.
See, and when we shift that, it may not seem like a lot, but it was like huge, because now her book will be that much more grounded in the reality of her and not something, I've got to go do this. Why do you have to do that?
That's right.
You know, like, and invalidating your whole life experience, you know? Like, her whole life experience was her kids and her husband and her family, and it was so important to her, rightfully so. And the thing is that we as a society have invalidated that. We have to do something. Well, she did something. That was her reality, and then from there, then she could create something else. But until you have that platform from which you stand that's only you, there's really no way to say to somebody, here's the secret. You know, because it's a journey that we take. It's a journey together, and you don't take it alone. You're guided, and that's the nice thing. You know, I love the idea of community that says yes, yes.
Yeah.
So that's the key to that, is that it's about finding people, and I think no matter what, it was amazing to me, like how a college student here is validating a mom who's going through a depression. You know, it was this amazing journey of like watching people from all walks of life, just as I like to say with my dogs, loving on each other, you know.
Right, right, yeah.
It's very moving. Yeah. It's very moving. There's nothing like the experience of being with people who are committed to something extraordinary.
Right. And everybody's there for that purpose. So they know that there's that support system, you know, within that group. So they can feel free to share. It's like a sacred space in there to share their experiences as they go through the course.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's all virtual, so it's not like we're sitting in a room together, but you do find that there are people who really connect with you, and it was just a really incredible experience as I was able to watch people go through and how they process. And you see, we all process differently. So what I was able to do was help people by pointing out how they processed.
Mm.
And when you know how you process, then you go, oh, of course.
Right. Because then you can recognize it the next time.
And it just gets reflected back to you. And the beauty of it is you realize how incredible you are. You know, I think that's the best way to put it, is that I like to show people their greatness. And at the end, toward the end, the sixth chakra is all about the legacy you were left and then the legacy you're going to leave. And it's really, I tell people, you know, you're going to be like, there's going to be a moment when you take the whole workbook, I call it the fun book, and you throw it across the room. Somebody said, I did that. Because your brain is kicking and screaming. It's always trying to protect you. It wants the best for you. But it made these decisions at 5 years old.
Mm. Right. So people shouldn't expect this to be like just a smooth ride. It's some digging deep and getting in there kind of a thing to really get the results.
There can be, but it cannot. For other people, it's just, this was really fun. It just depends. Like, everybody walked away and went, wow, this was really an experience that changed my life. And yet, there were moments that are just like, I had one person say the first 3 weeks, she was like, this is easy. And then week 4, splat. You know, and it's like, you know, I can be like, oh, flowery, and then all of a sudden it's like, ah, you know, it's like, it's a roller coaster, but that's life.
Right.
It's
Absolutely.
a mini experience of your internal life journey, and what happens is by the time it's like this. Imagine the roller coaster, right? It's like you're going up, and then it's like all the way down. You know, it's like, and then you go, let's go again. You know, it's like, I mean, that's life. I mean, if you just want things to be the same, then that's fine. Then this may not be for you. If you want things to be, if you want to learn to read cards, if you want to really trust your intuition, if you want to know what it's like to not second guess yourself, if you want to know what it's like to have that ability to just recreate your life in any moment and to really know who you are, then this is for you. If not, it's not for you. It's definitely you know, the best way to put it, I had a friend a few years ago who said this to me, and it always stayed with me. And she said, I'm an extraordinary person looking for an extraordinary life. And that's how I feel about the people I get to work with. They are extraordinary people stepping into an extraordinary life. And it's just an incredible honor to watch them just bloom.
Yeah.
Bloom, you know? And you've worked with me for a while. I mean, you've done some of the stuff with me, so you know.
I did, yeah, yeah, and it's very in depth. Like I said, you know, there was some digging in there.
This one's more fun, but I know. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I did the multi-generational healing one, and that was some digging in there, but it was interesting, definitely, and insightful. But what if people have never even picked up any cards before other than to play poker? You know, like, what if they've never used oracle decks or tarot cards or anything like that? Are
You
they?
don't need it. You don't need it. I designed the whole program without the cards. So the idea is that you don't even need the deck, you don't need the workbook. Everything is it's in its own course. What I noticed is that the people who wanted to learn cards learned all the bases. You know, they learned the basics. But you don't need it. In fact, you don't even need to be psychic. I mean, the idea is that it starts to awaken your intuition and make you aware of it. So it's like, what it is it's boot camp for your intuition, because you start to flex those muscles and all of a sudden you're living in them, and before you even know it, you're able to tap into things for yourself. Not necessarily a psychic thing, but just intuitively know, you know? I mean, how does a mom know when her kid's in trouble and runs out the door and saves his life? I mean,
Right.
how do you know? You know, how do you know these things? You just know. And so what this course does is it validates that intuition. You don't need the cards, but I think if you are a card reader, or if you've always wanted to learn to read cards, this will give you all the skills in order to do it. And that's where I think it's extraordinary, is that that's what I realized in the Post-it note thing, was I was set out to teach people to read cards, and instead I, did something else. But what I realized is the people who do want to learn cards will learn it, because it's all the skills you need to be a master reader is in that. That's the idea.
That's awesome, because I do find myself, just referring to what exactly I read, like in an accompanying book that come with the deck of cards, and kind of blocking whatever might come to me. And if I've tried to just say, oh, well, this looks like it means this to me, but then you read what it says and it's like the complete opposite of what you thought, then you feel like, oh, that was wrong,
Well, and that the thing too I want to say is that with cards, and especially with chakra wisdom, is that it's what opposes exposes. So if you're bringing up the opposite, it means it's exposing something in that polar opposite idea.
Right.
So, for example, the rejection card may not be you being rejected. It could be you rejecting something that isn't working in your life. And that was a big eye-opener for people when we got to that 7th chakra study. I think that the difference between this course and multi-generational healing is that I take some of the ideas of MGH, of multi-generational healing, put it in the 6th chakra, but what I did was I really took people through more of a journey of their intuition. And I think, honestly, you know what, Cherrise, I think this is the precursor to that course. I mean, I think it's kind of I think it's an easy way to get in to this work and start to develop it. And so, and my work's evolving, as you know, so it's kind of like when I finish this, then I'll be like, oh, yeah, I'll bring MGH back and I'll add this to it. And, I think it's just wherever you enter in the work is the perfect place for you.
Right. Yep. Well, I do know you've got another commitment here coming up. So tomorrow, well, this will be past. So you've got an ebook, and I have put links to that up on Facebook, and I also put it in my most recent newsletter for the book, and then also for April 7th, the webinar. Is there going to be a replay of that webinar, or are you going to send that out as a recording? Yeah,
there will be it's not going to be a replay, but I'm going to do an encore. So so people, if they get this today or tomorrow and they miss the first one, there will be others. And probably the best thing to do is just to send people to lifepurposedivination.com or to, through your link. And then they can also find it through, there's just like so many ways to find it. Just like the thing is that I open the cart for a limited time because the course itself starts early May, and I started as a 7-week drip. Now, some people you could start any time really, but at the end of the day, that's when you'll get the course. And there's a lot of bonuses going up to it, and that's part of why I wait so long. Is there's a video I did called, it's interesting, Negative Self-Talk, How to Overcome It. And that's a bonus video that's in there. So there's a lot of that stuff that kind of, I think a lot of these, this information prepares you for the course. So yeah, so to answer your question, the links you have are going to be accurate. We will be doing, if you put the webinar link up, you know, if that webinar is done, it'll come to a page where there's another. There's going to be, I think, 2 or 3 total. I think there's 3 total because one I have to do for Australian time. Right. And so there's a couple like that. But overall, the cart itself will be open in a short amount of time because I really want people to just jump in if it's right for them. You know, I want to give them an opportunity if it's right, and that's, you know. And, you know, there's other stuff, you know, I'm going to be doing other stuff in the future, so it'll be, you know, so much more.
So much more. Is it kind of self-paced, or are you like having like a weekly call to touch base with everybody to kind of get them on track?
No, it's completely self-paced. So wherever, you know, they'll start like on May 5th it starts, and then it, you know, they'll get one a week. And the nice thing about it is, you know, if they purchase early, they get a lot of bonuses. And the nice thing about that is that it kind of preps you for the course, and then when it starts, you'll be able to jump on the Facebook page and interact with other people. And of course, I'm very active on there too. But I designed this course, the way I wanted to design it was so that it's about you, not me, so that you take it on as it works for you. And there were some people, there's a couple gals who just finished for the last one. So it's really, and there'll be people on the Facebook page from the last course, and they're so excited because they want to support the new people.
Oh, that's exciting. And that's really good, because if somebody feels that they're unsure about something, they've got a veteran over there who can pipe in.
Yeah, and they're really, I'll tell you, the people who took the course were so smart. I mean, they've done this work, you know, like you. They're at a certain level where they understand it, and it's exciting to be around your tribe. You know that.
Yeah.
It just is.
It really is, yes.
So, you know, it's so good to see you.
Yeah, you too, like live in person, not just on a phone. So.
I know. Thank you.
Yes, well, thank you, and give. So it was lifepurposedivination.com.
Yeah, and they can always
I put it out there too.
Exactly. So thank you, Cherrise, and I look forward to connecting with you again.
Yes, we'll definitely do it again.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.